RuPaul. I mean, Larry.
RuPaul. I'm here. I'm here.
We had a moment there. Sorry. Anyway, so Larry, so why don't you kick us off, Larry, and kind of describe what we're going to talk about today.
All right. Well, this week we've decided to talk about the water situation and freezing situation with water pipes in tiny houses, and what we've dealt with, what I've dealt with, what you've dealt with so far in our new tiny houses, and what we can do or should do, or maybe what we should have already have done to prevent issues. So why don't you tell me about a little bit about what's happened with you so far this winter in your new tiny house with regards to potential freezing pipes and how to avoid it?
Well, let's back it up just a little bit. No, seriously. When I built my first tiny home, all of the internal water pipe was internal. So I put it like basically right inside the walls. So the ambient temperature of the house could keep those pipes warm.
Gotcha.
And the only issue I had with my other tiny house is I had the P-trap underneath the shower, and that's a P-trap. So, it goes down and does a little U thing. And when I was in Mount Charleston, up at 9,000 feet doing the camp host thing, we had some really, really cold winters, and P-trap would actually freeze because it really wasn't protected solid enough.
Are you saying basically that not only do you need to protect your freshwater pipes, but even your blackwater pipes?
Yes, this is exactly what I'm saying, yes. So when I realized that pipe had frozen, what I did was I concocted a big cage out of insulation to kind of cup that, and I put a heat tape to go around that P-trap that was exposed underneath the trailer, and that kept it from freezing again. But one of the quickest resolutions to that was I heated up a pot of boiling water, and when it was boiling, I just dumped it down the drain, and within about 5 minutes, it thawed the water enough that it flowed out, and I was able to take a shower. A little late for work, but that was okay. There really wasn't time constraints on me then, so nobody really objected to the fact that I was a little late for work that day because I couldn't get up in the morning and take a shower. Well, I could take a shower, but if I did, the water would have overflowed and...
Well, that's a whole nother mess then.
Yes, exactly. So, hand in hand, right? So anyway, with my new tiny home, all of the water pipes are not external. They're inside the walls. And my house...
I'm sorry to interrupt, but including the black septic, if you will, black tanks, or...
I don't have tanks, so it all goes out and an exit.
Oh.
But what I have for a shower, instead of a P-trap, it's what they call a waterless P-trap or something like that. It's actually a straight device that goes within the pipe. Mm-hmm. And evidently, instead of having the U-shaped thing, it's a straight pipe, but it still separates, so there's water in there to keep the fumes from coming past the pipe.
Okay.
And into the house.
That's what froze?
Yes, it did. It froze once on me, and so I put some heat tape on that particular line and taped it up and insulated it. I haven't had a problem with the draining since.
Awesome.
But what I did have is one. There were a couple of days where we had down in the teens, like 10 or 11 degrees. And I got up in the morning to, do my morning constitution and my shower.
Sure.
The toilet did not flush. It did not fill after the flush.
Oh, wow. So then there was a problem with the fresh water.
Right, the fresh water coming into the toilet. So there was a little bit of a freeze going on in there.
Now, but you said your pipes are now insulated into the wall, though, and it still froze?
Yeah, Yep, supposed to be insulated in the walls. I have not opened the walls to take a look to see how well they were, because I didn't build this one myself. This one I purchased.
Right. Understand? Same here. Right.
Yeah, but I do have a solution to this. However, I have not implemented it. I will get on to that in a moment. But the same thing is my toilet did not fill the tank after I flushed. And when I turned the shower on, it was just a little drip. So that told me that the lines there and the shower and the toilet are right next to each other.
All right.
And
same
so
line basically,
right,
or
the same line goes to feed both.
Mm-hmm.
So after a bit, it started to flow because I had the hot water going, and that warmed up the pipes surrounding it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, yeah, it was able to do that. Now I have PEX piping, so.
Oh, all right. I am right there with you with a tiny house, and just a quick segue, but I know PEX plumbing or PEX piping. That's all the way that everyone's doing it now.
Yeah.
I am not experiencing it, and I hated it. I had to deal with it here in this tiny house. They built it with that PEX plumbing, and unfortunately, I'm not to call out anybody, but unfortunately the main line coming into my house from the outside, the ring or the O-ring that goes around it, was not clamped all the way, and I didn't realize it at first, and I had about 2 months before I realized that there was a water leakage, and I didn't fix it until 6 months later due to the cost. It ended up costing me an insane amount, $300 to $400, which sounds ridiculous, but I don't have the tools that you have to fix PEX plumbing. I looked at it; it was going to cost me almost $100 just for the tools alone. And then I thought, well, what if I screw this up? Then I'm going to have to hire somebody to come do it anyways. And having no experience in PEX plumbing, I was used to the traditional, PVC or HP or whatever it's called, but the tempered PVC piping. But anyways. What a nightmare for me. Ended up costing quite a lot more money than I wanted to spend, but now no leaks and I'm okay with it. But I worry down the future and down the road, how long can, all these different rings going around these fittings, how long can they sustain that kind of pressure back and forth? But anyways, that's probably another subject for a whole other day.
No, because that was one of my concerns. I know that PEX pipe.
Yeah.
PEX pipe. Say that 3 times fast. All right, you're better than me.
I was kidding.
Anyway, there's expansion and contraction that those pipes can take, but the fittings necessarily can't take that expansion and contraction, and that's where you end up with the issue.
Yeah.
So, you got to keep them stable then, so it's not exercising the fittings with the expansion and contraction. And like you said that the piece of equipment to make that fitting and fix that fitting was like over $100.
Well, yeah. You have to have two different. I had to have 2 different pieces of equipment to do it myself, and it would have been easily over $100 between one clamp, and that was for a cheap. I'm not going to name brands, but that would be for a less expensive brand even. And so,
slip out. Sorry.
Everything's made there now, so yeah, pretty much. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so you have that investment of the tools to fix it for a one-time fix. We live tiny, dude. We can't accumulate a bunch of tools that we're going to use maybe once every 10 years. I mean, it's just ridiculous to store stuff for that long if you're not using it.
I could not fathom that myself. I already have one small area where I store my tools, and there's a small little Craftsman or whatever it is toolbox under the sink at this point. I don't have a room to add to that, so it is what it is. But yeah.
Right, exactly, and so that's a disadvantage for people who are living tiny and trying to store all their possessions. Anyway, back to the subject of expansion and contraction. So the water pipes froze, and, they weren't frozen hard because evidently they thawed out like relatively quick. just as soon as I get some water kind of flowing again. And of course, flowing water doesn't freeze as quickly as stagnant water. I mean, that's a given. Pretty much everybody knows this.
Yeah, that's common knowledge. Basically, if you are able to leave your water on and you're under pressure, at least for a small drip, it shouldn't freeze. Potentially, it shouldn't freeze overnight. However, myself, I'm on a different setup currently. As you know, I'm on a pump system, so I have to tell the Google, the powers that be, to turn the water on or press the button to pressurize my system. So for me, that's where I ran into the problem. Is after a week of below 20-degree temperatures, we pretty much froze solid, even with my heat tape going around the pipes. So, but that's a very small issue compared to most people. But even still, I've been told that even if you leave it on and you have traditional, setup, whether it be a well or water, city water, they can still freeze. And especially in tiny houses and or trailers, if you will, or park models, because we don't have the typical structure underneath. Part of my problem, I think, was the fact that I don't have it skirted this year. I don't have the new tiny house skirted, and most of the freeze didn't actually come from the line. It actually came from underneath the house itself. That's where my freeze happened. And so I'm wondering about, obviously I know I would have to skirt it and insulate it, and that would be a key thing. But I wonder, is that something that possibly happened to you too?
No, because the inlet pipe worked well.
Okay.
And the water to the sink and the water heater and the kitchen or the bathroom sink, they all worked flawlessly.
Wow.
But they are on the south side. So they receive
sunnier, warmer, and yeah.
Right. They receive a little more warmth than the north side. I had the issue on the north side. However, I do agree with you. When it came to my P-trapless shower drain, and I don't even really know what to actually call it, but it's a different type of.
It's not your traditional U shape. It's
right.
as you're saying, it's elongated or something. I don't know what it is either. It's new to me, but yeah.
But it's a different one, and that still froze, and I put heat tape on it. Now, had I had skirting, I'm pretty sure that would not have frozen. Skirting with insulation. Honestly, I meant to skirt it. I've been wanting to skirt it. There's a little financial expense in that, and me being a little lazy and, not wanting to really get out there and do the grunt work on it.
You mean you don't want to get underneath your house with the spider? Come on.
Crawling underneath the house is not my idea of a day full of fun. Oh, but anyway, yes. So it is in my intention to take the wheels off my tiny house, get them out of the weather, make sure the sun's not hitting them, and then skirt it. One that actually will benefit me greatly because the house will be lowered a little bit because I will not be on tires. I will be on basically the rims. No, not the rims. The brake drums.
Okay.
So it'll be down to the brake drums. So I'm lowering my house approximately 8 inches, maybe 9 inches.
Wow, that's considerable. Yeah. Now, are you going to do that yourself, or are you going to have to hire somebody to do that?
No, I'll do it all myself. Like I said, I'm just lazy. I wanted to get my little terrace wall up on the one side that is lower, and I haven't done that because that requires a lot of digging and leveling and getting the blocks right, and then backfilling it, so I don't have a slough off, which I don't want, which means that the tires that are sitting on the aggregate, there's only about this much space before there's a dip.
Gotcha.
And so my terrace wall will kind of like be in the ground. I'll backfill it so it'll be even, so there'll be no slough off.
Okay.
Once I put a jack underneath there and set things down, it won't have a tendency to slough off because it'll all be level. So those
that sounds like that's going to make a big improvement for you. And if you get to it this summer, and if I get to mine this summer or fall, which probably won't happen because we have a little camping trip coming up later this summer.
Oh, yeah, we do. Yes. Looking so forward to that.
Me too. That's going to be a blast. I can't wait. But
actually, I have a couple events this summer that I've already put in for. One you don't know about, but my friend from grade school, Jim, invited me to a Christian men's retreat
nice.
in Colorado. So he's been trying to talk me into this for like the last 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, finally, okay, let's just do this. And it's a chance to meet up with him. I haven't seen him. He's here in my heart, and I don't get to see him that often. So it was like, well, let's just do this. My friend, my neighbor, heard about it because I was talking to him. He's like, oh, I'd like to go.
Oh, sounds like you've got a big summer plan.
Yeah. We're gonna go together. We're just gonna make a big party of it. It's a Christian men's retreat, so it's not going to be too rowdy, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh well, I won't get too involved, but I probably would have a rough time myself. We've had places that I enjoy, but who knows?
Well, we've had our camping adventures, and sometimes they've gotten pretty rowdy and rascally, and that kind of a thing.
Sure.
Excuse me, gentlemen. Can you please stop dropping the F-bombs?
Oh, no, wait, no, heavens. That would never have happened to us.
No, never. Well, anyway, sometimes the stories get rich and they get embellished.
That's right.
So that's kind of where that went. Well, anyway, so getting back to the subject, and wow, I really got off the beaten path, didn't I?
That's okay. We could edit it or leave it in.
Oh, yeah, edit it out. Just get rid of that crap. No one needs to.
Or let it roll. We'll have to. We'll see what happens in the gods. We'll let it roll or we'll slice it out. But either way, we'll start again here just in case with the last half part because we're now at 17 minutes. So let's finalize this and talk about what we can do to. What you would do different now that you have a tiny house.
Oh, okay. So I was talking about the water pipes freezing, and what it seems to me is my house is pretty toasty warm in the winter, and yet the pipes froze. So I think what I need to do is introduce some of that ambient temperature within the house to those pipes. So those pipes run through the back of my shower.
Okay.
So that's an enclosed space. So if I were to put a louvered vent on one side of the shower, which is drywall.
Okay.
But if I was to cut a hole in that so that air could get in behind the shower where the water pipes are, by putting a louvered vent so the air could circulate on one side, and on the other side, it's the same thing. It's drywall on the other side of the shower.
All right.
So the shower is basically enclosed, but there's no warm air flowing through that area.
Which is possibly causing the freeze.
Exactly. So by cutting a hole in those two walls on either side of the shower and putting a louvered vent just to let warm air get in behind the shower, the advantage would be, I think my feet would be a hell of a lot warmer in the morning when I stepped in my shower to take a shower.
That would be true, yeah.
Yeah, because the warm air would be warming up that fiberglass shower.
The basin or whatever.
Base, yeah. Right. Yeah. So that is my next project, is to put a couple of little louvered vents so that air can circulate in and behind the shower, warming the pipes and warming up the shower floor and walls so it would be a little less chilled when I get up in the morning to take a shower.
Well, that sounds like a great way to solve a lot of the problems that we've had so far, that you've had and I've had, and hopefully we come up with more great ideas to help people and share them with the folks that are out there. So, well, Ellen, anything else you want to share before we sign off for this week of Tiny House Grumpy Old Man?
Nothing that I can say online.
Oh yeah, well, no politics.
Anyway, love you, brother.
Love you too.
All
right.
I hope we get interest in this so that we can do this again and again and again. Because I don't think a lot of people are just talking about the problems and issues that you have with tiny houses. They're like, oh, here it is. It's fabulous. We did this. We did this. Oh, isn't it fabulous? It looks wonderful. And then you go to the next.
Nothing ever goes wrong in a tiny house. Everything is beautiful all the time. Yeah.
Right. And what I think we're giving or delivering is the reality of it all, which it's not perfect. Life is not perfect.
You mean it's not always roses out there all the time?
Well, only in your garden. So anyway, I just hope people get this, what we're putting out.
I hope so too.
And they tune in and take another look here and there.
Yeah. Well, that being said, if there's interest out there, we are considering making a channel for ourselves called Tiny House Grumpy Old Man or something of the sorts. And if there's interest, put a comment in the link below and let us know what you're interested in and what other topics that you might want Alan and I to cover. We have several years experience. Alan, how long have you been in a tiny house now?
Oh, shit. 9 years, going on 10.
9 years and going on 10, and I'm going on 6 or so. So I, damn near 20 years, 21 years experience. So math obviously is not my thing, but damn near 20 years experience of tiny houses and what we've learned from it. So anyways, stay tuned next time for Tiny House Grumpy Old Men. Give us your ideas and suggestions, comments, likes, dislikes, what have you. Alan, thanks for joining.
Oh, wait a minute. How do you like the Papa Smurf look?
Oh, I better not comment.
Don't know where to go with that one. Well, that's like me. I'm always throwing something on you at the last minute just to make you chuckle. And it works, okay?
But I love the Papa Smurf. You know what? If I could just, excellent.
You got to get more fluffy.
I'm working on
You
it.
got to let it go. You got to let it go, brother.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us.